This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
On the Morning Drive with Jamie Lent, Jeff McGuire, and Chuck Heinz. The Yates Flooring Center chat line, it's open. Visual Edge IT hotline, it is open as well. The question here, Jamie, and I don't know if I think this is kind of on par with where he needs to be, but the question is, will Quentin Joyner be back for the first half of the season with that ACL tear? I mean, he tore it so early, like August, that now the new time frame supposedly of 11 to 12 months. I mean, I'm not going to say 100% good to go and cut left, cut right, feeling no effects from it. But, if you look at kind of the timeline now, he should be in pretty good shape to be able to make it back, barring any kind of setbacks that he's had with his rehab and his recovery.
Yeah, I would think that as early as the injury happened, that he would have a better chance of being, close to a full go. When it comes time to fall camp and all that good stuff and being ready for the season.
Yeah, and I would say he's obviously in terms of the timeline, he's in much better shape on that than Will Hammond is, because Will's not going to be in that spot. And it'll be interesting to see how they handle that this next year, because now with the Brendan Sorsby signing, you don't feel rushed to get him back in, and that's a good thing, because it gives him an opportunity to rehab and get ready as well. I just you wonder this, Jamie. What if Hammond doesn't get hurt? Does Tech still go after a guy like Brendan Sorsby?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. It would have been tough choices for Coach McGuire, Coach Blanchard, and company here on that one, because, oh man, I mean, then you start getting into, did you see enough this year to believe he's worthy of being QB1 heading into the season? Did you see enough with all that you're spending in every other position to be 100% certain that he was the guy that could take you, because not just to wins here and there, but deep into the college football playoff. And so they would have had to made that decision, which would have kind of been a tough one to make, in my opinion, because I'll just say with me, I think Will's got a ton of potential, but I didn't see enough to be like, hey, we're trying to get the best players at every position in the country so we can win a national championship, and we don't need to touch the quarterback position. I definitely was not there.
Well, and then here's the other question for you is, if you'd had a healthy Will Hammond and available in the Orange Bowl, would you have sat Barron for a series or two, or used Will Hammond in a different manner just to kind of throw that Oregon defense off balance a little bit? Would that have made a difference in that game? Or was Oregon just that so much better that no matter who you put back there, based on what you weren't doing on the offensive line and what your running backs weren't able to do in terms of being able to break out of tackles and all those things? I mean, that's a whole another can of what ifs, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a completely different subject. But yes, to answer your question, I don't think there's any question that the way Barron was struggling, if Will Hammond was healthy and ready to go, that you would have, as much as he had played, and as much as he had at times showed you a spark coming in relief of Barron, that you would have gone to Will Hammond. That's the thing. Will Hammond coming off the bench when teams weren't prepared for him showed you really good stuff. Will Hammond, with time to prepare for him, those were more struggles, in my opinion. That's a different deal. Change of pace, he gave you great stuff. But like when teams were preparing for Will Hammond, it wasn't as great.
It's like that player that comes in off the bench in basketball that they always say they're the energizer, they're the spark plug, they're the, that's the buzzwords, right? For all of that. So, yeah, it is interesting. The other question I have for you is just in hearing these numbers, and maybe it's just a number, but does it surprise you that 18 are out the door, while 12 are coming in the door, and knowing that you're going to have some high school kids coming in and junior college kids coming in, maybe not as much as what you conventionally think of when it comes to bringing in new people, but the 18 seems like a high number to me, and I'm not lamenting it, saying that you're missing out on all these guys and people are leaving because they're disgruntled, and maybe that's just the attrition rate of college football too.
Yeah, I think it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the beast. And if you were in their position, I think you would probably do the same thing. I know I would. I mean, if I came in and I looked at things and I said, okay, so as a freshman, I'm going to, maybe hardly ever play. And then as a sophomore, I'm going to play a little bit more. And then as a junior, okay, I'll start to be a factor and all these kind of things. And then I get close to those times where I've put my time in as the grunt, hey, you're going to work on the scout team and you're going to be a practice player and you're going to play a few snaps, but you're not going to get a lot. And then you're getting close to that time and they say, hey, we're bringing somebody else in front of you. I wouldn't stick around.
Yeah, but I mean, I think some of this is that, and then I think some of this is maybe the coaching staff saying to the players, hey, you may want to find another spot because we don't have a spot for you. Or they might even just be saying, hey, we're releasing you from – I saw this on social media this morning that there's a K-State kid where the coaching staff just said, hey, we just want you to know we're releasing you from your scholarship and your agreement, and you're now free to fly about the country. And it's like, oh, okay. And so, I mean,
Yes, I think coaching staffs are pushing guys and they're saying, hey, listen, we're going to bring somebody else to play in front of you, so you probably need to go somewhere else. Yes, I think that's happening. I think that happened before NIL and the transfer portal as well.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I don't know. It's just
it's the nature of the beast. Everybody's doing it.
I got you.
If you're trying to worry about our program doing it compared to somebody else's, everybody else is doing the same thing.
Yeah, no. I just I said,
it's not showing a lot of loyalty to those kids that you went and sat in their living room and ate mom's pie or whatever, like you like to talk about. Like, hey, your son comes here, he's going to get the opportunity, he's going to do this, and we're going to be with him, and I'll be here all 4 years, and blah 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 blah. It's kind of goes back on some of that stuff a little bit, but it's the nature of the beast right now.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
2026 with this day in sports history. Here is Jeff McGuire.
Going to start us off in 1945. The University of Kentucky Wildcats men's basketball team sets an NCAA record by holding Arkansas State to 6 points. It was 75-6.
Yikes.
1955, Georgia Tech ends Kentucky's 130-game home basketball win streak. 1972, NCAA announces freshmen can now play on teams starting in the fall. Look at them letting freshmen play.
Isn't that crazy how that was back in the day? I mean, it's almost like the dunk wasn't allowed, 3-point shooting. There were some crazy rules that the NCAA had that really kind of kept the lid on college basketball for a while.
1984, the NCAA announces that basketball tournament at the end of the year will now have 64 teams.
Yeah, that was for the 85 tournament. Was the first year they did that. And man, there was a lot of controversy when they went from 48 to 64, because that was a big jump. I think it was 48 to 64, Jamie.
Okay. I can only remember it being 64.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, he was 8.
No, I get it. I mean, I get it. I understand.
I also remember it being 68, but yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You see, I always
That's
forget
good.
that it's 68 because I don't count the first week. 1993, Michael Jordan's game-high 35 points leads the Chicago Bulls to a 120-95 win over Milwaukee, giving him exactly 20,000 points in his 620th game of his NBA career. The second fastest to reach this milestone after Wilt Chamberlain, who took 499 games. 2007, Jarius Jackson scores 23 points and Texas Tech improves to 13-4, winning 7 of its last 8 with a 62-52 win over Kansas State.
I think J-Jack is probably one of the most underrated Red Raider basketball players of all time.
(2019) Senior Brandon Francis proved to be the spark with 5 points, and Matt Mooney led the way with 22 as the number 8 Red Raiders got a 66-59 win over number 23 Oklahoma. And what do we know about Brandon Francis?
Man, of course I met Chuck. That's my guy.
that may be one of the best things ever that happened on this radio station for me. That Brandon Francis would acknowledge me on another show. That was pretty cool.
It is National Molasses Bar Day.
Man, I'd have to be awful hungry to eat a bar of molasses, Jamie.
Well, it's like a candy bar.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it'd be one of my favorites.
What's that candy bar that's like really solid like that you
The not 100 grand. It's
you know what I'm talking about.
No.
I think it comes in. Okay, Jeff does.
I know what he's talking about. I can see it. It's the hard caramel.
Yes,
and,
yes.
It's
right,
not crackle, but it's along those lines. I can
Right.
see the name of it. I can see it. I know what you're talking about, Chuck.
Okay.
While a molasses bar might not be one of Jamie's favorites, I bet this guy is. Happy birthday, former Red Raider pitcher Corey Taylor turns 33.
Oh, very nice.
Jason Giambi is 55, and one of Chuck's favorites, Bob Eubanks, turns 88 today.
I don't know. He's one of my favorites, but I mean, he's a game show host. I feel like that's something I could do, Jamie, is be a game show host.
I think you'd be great at that, Chuck.
Chuck, you also think you could be an Olympic swimmer, so, your credibility is waning there.
I think the game show host would fit better than the Olympic swimmer.
probably have more success as a game show host than as an Olympic swimmer, But I do think I could get us along, right? We could get it to open the show, introduce the contestants, and kind of all those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's the staying on track part that we would worry about a little bit. We might, halfway through a wheel spinning and somebody, the voice guy would say, "John, tell them what they've won." And you might start talking about what you had for dinner the night before, or what you wore in the pool, or, dinging bells or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And on this day in 1815, just 2 weeks after the signing of the Treaty of Net, the U.S. General Andrew Jackson achieves the greatest American victory of the War of 1812 at the Battle of New Orleans. The British marched against New Orleans, hoping that they would be capturing the city and could separate Louisiana from the rest of the United States. In a half an hour, the British had retreated, and their main general had died, and nearly 2,000 of their men were killed, wounded, or missing. U.S. forces suffered only 8 killed and 13 wounded. And that is this day in sports history.
This day in sports history. Thank you, Jeff. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Jeff, this is the candy bar that we're looking for. I think it's on a little white stick, a Slowpoke. Does that
Nope.
sound familiar? Nope.
What I'm thinking.
Not what you're thinking.
I've never heard of a slowpoke
Me
before.
either.
Well, I mean,
Well,
yeah,
in driving lanes, yes.
anybody that's driving
Yeah.
a truck, but
I think this is sarcasm. Okay, I think this is sarcasm from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Dear Chuck, and now Gordo's going to get all in a wad here. Dear Chuck, I really enjoy this quote sports show unquote each morning. Y'all should really think about turning it into a business, commercials, secretaries, Keurig in the lobby, that kind of stuff. Good luck. Oh, that seems like
We just talked about a whole bunch of sports stuff right there.
that seems like a bit of a poke right there. Hey, going back to the NCAA tournament just for a second and the expansion on this day in '84 to 64 teams. The crazy thing was that in 1979 the tournament expanded to 40 and added a sixth round. Jamie, in that year, 24 teams received byes to the second round. Then in 1980, 8 more teams were added to get you to 48, with 16 teams receiving byes, and the restriction on the number of at-large bids from a specific conference was removed. Okay. In 1983, a 7th round was added with 4 play-in games. An additional play-in game was added in '84. So, I mean, they have over the years kind of matriculated this thing upward to where we are now at 68. So it'll be interesting to see how this playoff committee for football gets their thoughts for next year, because I still think you can get to 16 next year, but we'll see what happens.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you from the First United Bank studios. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. Again, thoughts, comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line or the Visual Edge IT hotline. We got this from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Let's see. Tough loss for Texas Tech men's basketball. Get ready for the next game. Learn and succeed. Time in a game is what you need to play. So the men will play on Saturday against the Colorado Buffaloes. We'll have the game for you on Saturday here on Double T 97.3. Somebody on the Yates Flooring Center chat line has posted a picture of Coach Joey McGuire, prospective Red Raider Cam Coleman, and others at a restaurant last night. Apparently he got the ribeye and did not touch the bread. Credit for this photo is to some chap on Twitter. Man, that's got to be awkward. You got you're trying to go out to dinner, and you got people taking stock of what you're eating and then posting on social media. I guess that's the life of a college football player, Jake.
yeah, if they were going to pay me $5 million, I'd probably be all right with it.
Well, I don't know that he's getting the $5 million. I mean,
If I was going to Las Brisas, I think I'd be okay with it too.
right. I mean, even if they were going to pay you $500,000, you'd probably be okay with it as well. So I'd seen some reports that people were encouraging others to go to dinner there last night because of the thought that they were going to go to dinner, Coach McGuire, Cam Coleman, and others, and that kind of a show of support of the Red Raiders. Don't you think that Cam Coleman knows that if he comes here, that there's probably going to be a lot of people that are going to be cheering for him based on what he's seen, and if he's done any kind of research at all to see what the fan base is like.
I'm sure he would love our fan base, but I imagine anywhere that he goes, the plays that he's able to make, he'll get a lot of people cheering for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably no shortage of that. No shortage of people that.
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to have like the line like you see at basketball games, where the fans line both sides. The team comes running out. You got the pom-pom girls and the cheerleaders and the dance team and the whole thing. Kind of as they're running into the restaurant. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? If you had that, that'd be something
Spectacular.
probably be a little over the top. There is college football tonight as the college football playoffs continue. Oh, by the way, do you have a favorite tonight between Miami and Ole Miss? I think I asked you this yesterday, and you were leaning more towards Miami, if I'm thinking right.
Yes, I'm rooting for Miami.
Miami's favored by 3.5. And there's a part of me who wants to root for Ole Miss just because, man, those kids have been through a lot, with coaching change and the drama of that, all those kinds of things. So the ESPN matchup predictor has Miami favored 57% over Ole Miss's 43%. The quarterback stuff is pretty even. With Beck versus Chambliss. Beck's like 3,300 yards, thrown 10 interceptions. Chambliss has thrown 3 and 21 touchdowns. The quarterback matchup might favor Ole Miss, Jamie.
Beck's got, postseason experience. It's a tight one. I'd say it's a toss-up. I like Chambliss. I don't like Beck at all, but yeah, I'd say it's a toss-up at the quarterback position.
Carson Beck, 296 to 398, 27 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. The quarterback from Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss, 271 of 408, 21 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. I mean, we all know that, those turnovers are so critical, especially in these big games like this. And the other thing that Ole Miss does is they run the football. Their big stud running back has run for 1,464 yards, Kawan Lacey. Meanwhile, for Miami, their running back, Mark Fletcher, that's a pretty pedestrian name.
He's a good player.
Mark Fletcher, 947 yards. Kawan seems like that's a running back name, Jamie. Kawan, Kewan. You look at that and go, running back, right? Mark Fletcher, you kind of think, well, that's kind of a quarterback name right there. And then so I don't know. We'll see who can protect the quarterback, who can get to the quarterback. And this is a game we'll have for you on Double T 97.3 tonight. The kick is at 7:30. This is the Fiesta Bowl, and it comes to us from Phoenix, or at least the Phoenix area.
I think Ole Miss is the better offense. I think Miami is the better defense, and that's kind of why I'm leaning towards Miami to win.
Okay, good defense can be good offense. We know that, right? That's kind of how it works. And then, what's your thought tomorrow for the Peach Bowl with Indiana and Oregon? Is this Indiana fait accompli? Oregon, nice season. Here's your T-shirt. Here's your trinkets. Here's your swag bag. Go back to Oregon.
I think Indiana's the best team left. I'll be surprised at this point if Indiana doesn't win it all. I don't think they'll blow out Oregon, though. I think it'll be a good game.
Okay. We have this prediction off the Yates Flooring Center chat line for tonight. Ole Miss will win it 28-14. Miami will have issues with their defense.
Okay.
Is it starting to feel like you remember the Michigan run in basketball, right? 1989.
Uh-huh.
Is it starting to kind of feel a little bit like that, where Michigan, their coach Bill Frieder was going to take I think it was the Arizona State job, and Mo Schembechler said, "Well, I want a Michigan man, coach of Michigan." I mean, that's when he said, I'm not going to let him coach that team. He wants to coach the other team, so let him go coach the other team. And then Steve Fisher took him to a national championship.
I think you mentioned a few minutes ago. You said with all that the Ole Miss players have been through. I mean, when Kiffin left, they didn't lose their money. They didn't lose they didn't stop feeding them. I mean, it's not like they had a drought or something, or they lost a parent. I don't know that. I mean, I guess it's a distraction. Yes, completely agree with that. But I'm sure the Ole Miss players have still been well taken care of. I don't know that they've been through that much in their life just because of this.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Take your thoughts and comments in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet973.com for that, or the mobile app. Going back to the Ole Miss situation, I get what you're talking about. I mean, they don't lack for meals or attention or medical care or things like that. But I mean, there's got to be some kind of, what the heck's going on around here kind of stuff. And maybe they've settled into their new normalcy, Jamie, because now it's been a number of weeks that Lane Kiffin's been gone, and they've got kind of a routine, and it clearly has worked for them. And if they win tonight, people are going to go, well, they figured it out. And Pete Golding is all we thought he was going to be as a head coach. And guess what? We're going to go play for a national championship. And Lane Kiffin's going to wonder, man, did I make a mistake? Because he could have been just revered and statues built for him and all that kind of stuff. But he took the bag and went to LSU. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I definitely feel like it's been a distraction, and that's part of the reason that I wondered how Ole Miss would do. Mm-hmm. But to say, as you said, with all that they've been through, I mean, here's what I have pictured in my mind of you picturing. Okay.
Okay.
You remember the movie Revenge of the Nerds?
Yeah.
Okay. You remember when the jocks burnt down their frat house or whatever? Yeah. And so they took over the nerds' frat house, right? And all the nerds had to go sleep in the gymnasium or whatever. Okay, This is what I have pictured in your mind of when you say, with all that they've been through at Ole Miss. I mean, the only thing that's changed for the Ole Miss players is a different guy at the top. Okay? Maybe some different position coaches here, there, whatever. But there are people that go through things in life. I don't think the players are going through anything too deep.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there's people that are struggling to put food on the table and pay their rent and all that kind of stuff,
or go through divorces or whatever.
Right.
That's going through something. They just had a change in the head coach. I just feel like that's over dramatized a little bit. Okay. A distraction, absolutely, no question.
Do you feel traumatized at 9:01 every day? Like, oh man, I had to go through that again.
6:02.
6:02. It's the dreading of what's coming ahead. Then thank God it's over with. That tour of duty is done for the day.
I do not feel traumatized.
Okay.
I do not feel that way at all.
But he is. Lane Kiffin could become a modern day Bill Frieder, who never achieved the success I think he thought he was going to achieve at Arizona State versus what he could have achieved at Michigan. And I don't know if that team wins a national championship if Bill Frieder is the coach. Maybe they do, but maybe this is the same way with Ole Miss. Maybe Ole Miss, would have already lost, but this has galvanized them. The old foxhole mentality kind of stuff that we're all here and it's just us and it's us against the world and nobody cares about us. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that kind of mentality and attitude, right?
Sure, absolutely. Sometimes, it's the us against the world mentality is, it really does bring a team together and motivates them and pushes them forward. Yeah, that's absolutely, that's a possibility. Now, ultimately it comes down to, that only takes you so far, right? Mm-hmm. You have to, have to be talented and you have to perform and all that good stuff, but it definitely should give you a little motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's and then like you said, at some point in time, everything else kind of catches up to you. We get this: players as well as coaches are all mercenary, are all guns for hire. You do you. Okay, mercenaries, assassins, snipers, all that kind of stuff.
It's I think it's difficult to paint with such a broad brush there.
Yeah.
There definitely is some of that going on, what the texter is suggesting. I mean, it had to feel different for, guys in the when I say the old days, 6 or 8 years ago, that went to school and were there for 4 years, compared to a guy that's he's moved around a bunch and he's there for in some cases less than a year, right? Because by the time you're on campus and then you're gone again, it's got to be a different feeling. You spend 4 years of your life someplace, it becomes a little bit a part of you, and you become a part of it. But you're there for 8 months. It's going to feel different. And then, I mean, as we've talked about, part of the reason that you're here is, well, the payday's the biggest here, or the payday's really high here, whatever. And that's where you can't say the texter's comment is outrageous.
No, it's not.
But at the same time, I think there are guys that can, no matter how much they're paid to come here, and no matter how short of a time that are here, that probably are like, man, I loved that place. That was 8 great months of my life or whatever. I really love that place. It'll be interesting to see how those guys, is David Bailey going to come back and watch Tech games and be on the sideline of Tech games? Is he going to become a big supporter for a guy that was only here for a short period of time? I don't have any idea. I know that we loved him when he was wearing a double T on his helmet, but I have no idea if he's going to become a Texas Tech fan, if we'll see him at Tech basketball games or, tweeting about the Red Raiders or what. I have no clue. So, but you feel like you can't paint everybody into that picture, but at the same time, there's a lot of truth to what he's saying is out there as it sounds.
Yeah.
And there's other examples of this too in the past for guys that were here for a year, 8 months, whatever it is. And I'm going to throw 2 of them out there, and all of us would say that they are Red Raiders, and Tariq Owens and Matt Mooney.
Okay, those are the 2 examples. Now, how many other guys have been here for 1 year that we've never seen from again?
I would also say, on the other side of that coin, Davis Webb. He's a Red Raider, but he's also a Cal Bear. He supported, when Tech played Cal, he was like, I can't lose today. Both my teams are playing today. You're allowed to root for someplace you were at the end. You don't have to just be like, oh, well, I just got a paycheck there. It's about the people, stupid. And out here, we've got great people. Yeah. And I, as Joey McGuire said, once you ever play for me, you're mine for the rest of your life, whether you play here for 1 month or 6 months or 6 years.
A little bit of a different example there because Davis Webb really wasn't at Cal for a paycheck.
No, he went there for playing time.
Yeah.
But still.
But you mentioned the 2 guys, which is totally fair, and they are 100%, I think, bought in and are Red Raiders and all that. Okay, but how many other guys have come in through the portal, blah, 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 various sports, and we don't hear from again?
And there's
that's why I say there's both sides of it.
Yeah, and there's also guys and gals that were here for 4 years that
also we don't hear from them
about it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great point, Chuck. That's a great point.
So it does kind of sadden me because your college years are your formative years. And when wherever you went to school, when you go drive back to that town, or you see that school on TV, and you see something you hear the music at the basketball game or the music at the football game or whatever, and you're like, that's what it was when I was there. So anyway, it's just different. We get this. JL's got that level-headed realist dialed up this morning in regards to Ole Miss, and he's spot on. That from Guns Up Gal. So Jamie, when you get the stamp of approval from Guns Up Gal, I feel like that's validation for what we do and maybe what you do, and so I think she's right.
Thanks for the compliment.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
To Thursday, it is the Morning Drive on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you from the First United Bank studio. We'll take your thoughts and your comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. The Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. Jamie, I don't want to steal a future question of the day for you or from you, but you asked us at 7:30 what we thought the men's record would be for the Big 12. And my question for you is, how much have your expectations changed for the Lady Raiders, given that they're now 17-0 and 4-0 in Big 12 play with a win over West Virginia last night, 71-66?
I thought they had the potential to finish inside the top 10. I'm probably up another, it's just, I haven't seen enough of the women's teams to be certain of it. But I would be, at this point, surprised if they don't finish in the top 6.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of looking, and now you get into a stretch where, okay, so they play Saturday in Cincinnati. We'll have the game on 93.7 The Eagle at 12:30. The tip's at 1. And then you come back and you host Houston on Tuesday. They got a new coach. K-State is a different team. They don't have the big gal inside, Aoka Lee. She's moved on. And then the week after next, this will be a tough trip. They got to go to Provo and play BYU on a Wednesday. Then they'll stay and go to Salt Lake. It's an easier second leg of the trip because Salt Lake's about 50 minutes from Provo. It's an easy bus ride. And then you come home on the 28th of January and you play Iowa State. And that's kind of a game you have circled because you're hoping that you have your new 7-1 center eligible by then. I don't know. I know that they've made, submission to get her eligible. I know that they have internally picked apart their request for waiver and trying to anticipate what types of things the NCAA might come back and say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. So it's a bit of a process. I don't think, just from what I've heard, being around the team and being around individuals that are involved, I don't think it's a approved or disapproved or denied kind of thing. I think it's, hey, this is kind of what we need in order to see this. Provenance is the word that I think you use when you're trying to prove that you have something that is valid. So, yeah, I'd agree with you. I think now you're kind of going, okay, getting to the NCAA tournament, based on what you've done so far, that'd be huge, and you'd be your first trip to the NCAA tournament in 13 years because the last time you were there was 2013.
Yeah, it would be massive, no doubt.
So, and then this is the crazy thought, Jamie, is, so let's say you figure out a way to win 8 more games, okay, or maybe even 7 more games. So you finish 12, and let's say you finish 12-6, okay? Now you start to think about, hey, you might get a chance to host because that still is viable on the NCAA women's side, and those first round sites have not been settled yet. So there is that, and wouldn't that be something?
It'd be awesome. Obviously, it'd give you a better chance to advance, although it didn't help you the last time. But
no, it didn't.
Definitely gives you a better chance. So that you definitely want that. Because
you have to think that they had 6,000 in attendance last Saturday, and it was a really good crowd. And I'll tell you, last night was a pretty good crowd here in Morgantown.
Really?
It was pretty good. I mean,
Man.
for what we've seen in the past. Okay, so for what we have seen here,
I was watching on television. It looked sparse.
it looked empty. Okay,
Yeah.
And that's fair. I mean, when we got to the game about an hour before tip, but it looked like it looked more than what we've seen before in the past.
Okay.
And look, I mean, sometimes the weather here, as you well know, is dicey and it keeps people out. They actually had the air conditioner on inside the Coliseum last night because it was somewhat warm here yesterday. I mean, it was in the 50s, which for West Virginia, that's like go to the beach weather, man. Especially in January. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, put yourself in a pretty good spot because you're going to start having some pretty good crowds as long as you keep winning because everybody loves a winner, right? I mean,
That is the truth.
The brand of basketball that they're playing right now and how they share the ball and how hard they're playing, I think people will enjoy coming out and seeing this team and watching if you haven't seen it yet. So they won 71-66 last night. And to me, because like coming in, they were so worried about, West Virginia attacking. And I thought this was really interesting, Jamie. Part of the philosophy last night was teams that like to attack don't necessarily like to be attacked. So Texas Tech, part of their big game plan was attacking West Virginia with the same fervor that they were going to attack you. Now, West Virginia, man, they are an intense basketball team on both sides, both the men and the women. But every time you touch the ball, I mean, there's somebody in your face for them. So the Lady Raiders tried to do that too. Then the other thing that they did yesterday is that when they were showing the team video of West Virginia, they talked about every time that you force them to go left, something bad happens. And they showed clip after clip after clip after clip of forcing them to go left. Now, you couldn't force them to go left on every play, but there were a number of times if they went middle or they went right, it was way more successful for them than if they went left. And it was a point of emphasis to force that team to go left. And you forced them to turn it over 15 times. And then that resulted in 20 points for the Lady Raiders off of turnovers. So that was huge. And then the offensive rebounding was huge last night for Tech at getting 18 for them, and then 20 points second chance. So all good things.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet973.com.